morning, everyone, and welcome to our 8th annual Employer Workshop. Today's Employer Workshop is the result of a collaboration with the following Bay Area regional child support agencies: Alameda, Contra Costa, Marin, Napa, San Benito, Santa Cruz, San Francisco, San Mateo, Santa Clara, Solano, and Sonoma. My name is Caroline Castillo. I am a supervisor with Solano County Child Support, and I will be the host of today's event. Before we get started on our presentation, let's go over a few housekeeping items. To cut down on background noise and distraction, all participants have been muted. You are encouraged to participate during this workshop by answering the polling questions that come up and by submitting questions using the Q&A feature. We will be monitoring your questions and we'll make sure to answer them during the Q&A portion at the end of the workshop. You will also have a chance to complete a survey that will help us improve future workshops and make sure the information we provide is what you truly need. Would you like a copy of today's PowerPoint presentation? Head on over to our Bay Area Regional Child Support Collaborative website at www.bayareachildsupport.net. Not only will you find today's presentation, but other valuable resources. So check it out and add it to your favorites. We appreciate your participation in this year's workshop, as we recognize that our relationship is an important bridge in ensuring that families receive the support that they need. We truly believe that building bridges makes us stronger together. Today's workshop is just one of the many bridges that we can build. And now it is with great pleasure that I introduce our first speaker, Leanne Peck, Director of Solano County Department of Child Support Services. Leanne Peck has over 23 years of experience working in local government, all of which have been within the California Child Support Program. She has worked in all facets of the program, from support staff to director. Her career path has led her all over the state, spending 8 years with the Sacramento Department of Child Support Services, 11 years with Siskiyou-Modoc Regional Department of Child Support Services, and just prior to joining Solano County in December of 2021, she spent 3 years with the Central Sierra Child Support Agency as their deputy director. Leanne holds a bachelor's degree from Southern New Hampshire University in public administration. Welcome, Leanne.
Thank you, Caroline, and welcome to the 8th Annual Employer Workshop presented by the Bay Area Regional Child Support Collaborative. The Bay Area Regional Child Support Collaborative is made up of 11 counties represented here today. Within our 11 local child support agencies, we manage a total of 131,404 cases, and thanks to our incredible partnership with our employers, have collected a total of $264,376,107 from income withholding order collections for state fiscal year 2023. As employers and payroll professionals, you can be proud to know that each day that you comply with an income withholding order received from the child support program, you are helping families meet their basic needs of food, shelter, and medical support. We recognize the challenges you face in navigating the requirements to process and submit income withholdings to ensure financial stability for the children and families in our Bay Area communities. On behalf of the 713 employees who work within these counties, we would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your continued effort and support in helping serve the families within our program. Before I turn it back over to Caroline, on behalf of the Bay Area Child Support Directors, I would like to extend our appreciation to the Employer Workshop Committee, who has worked tirelessly to ensure this virtual workshop is a success. Your time, dedication, and talent are greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Leanne. So now, let us get started with a look at today's agenda. We will begin with an overview of the child support program. Next, we will dive into new hire reporting and employer verification. After that, we will discuss everyone's favorite topic, income withholding orders, IWOs, and electronic income withholding orders, EIWOs. Further along, we will talk about remitting payments, Then we will give you important information about health insurance and national medical support notices. Last, we will give you the resources for staying connected with us. After the presentation, we will move into our Q&A session where we will answer the questions you submitted throughout the workshop. Then to close out our program, we will invite Kim Kenyo, Director of San Mateo DCSS, to deliver our closing remarks. But before we jump into the material, it is time for our first poll question. We want to know, is this your first time attending the employer workshop, or are you a returning attendee? We will go ahead and give you a few seconds to answer. The results. Oh, it looks like we have a mixed crew. So kind of a split down the middle with returning attendees, and some of you are brand new to this workshop. Welcome, everyone. We hope you will gain more information from this year. And for those of you who are attending the workshop for the very first time, we hope you continue to join us again in the future. Now let's talk about the goals of this workshop. The goals for this workshop are to educate. We want to explain your responsibilities and help you to understand the services we provide within the child support program. Inform. The more you know, the more you grow. We are going to provide you with the best resources and tools that will assist you in processing our requests. Engage. We want to hear from you what issues you face in dealing with the child support program so that we can find a solution that benefits everyone. By the end of this workshop, we want you to have a better understanding of our process so that we can be stronger together. Attention certified payroll professionals and those with a fundamental payroll certification. To be eligible for recertification credit hours, RCHs, for attending today's workshop, you must attend for the duration of the event, so no leaving early, answer the poll questions, and then after the event, an email will be issued to all the registered attendees with additional information, including the steps to request the event code and a certificate of completion. And now, let me introduce our panel of presenters. Carly Winship is a lead child support officer in Santa Clara County. She has 13 years of child support experience and is currently with the Intergovernmental Unit, which handles cases where families live in different states from each other. Marisol Blake is a lead child support analyst. She has 22 years of experience working with San Mateo County DCSS in different areas of child support and is currently in Interstate. Mike Oliver is a child support specialist too for Contra Costa County. He is on the legal team and has over 5 years of experience that include legal and enforcement. Kanisha George is a lead for Santa Clara County and has worked for the department for 19 years. She works in the unit where modifications are reviewed and cases are prepared for court hearings. Let us begin with Carly, who will take us through an overview.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. I will be sharing with you a general overview of the child support program. And per Caroline Poll, it sounds like this may be the first time some of you will hear this information. So let's get into it. So what do we do and why is our partnership important? The child support program provides various services to families. We do locate, establish paternity, establish and enforce support orders, modify orders, and collect and disperse child support payments. Let me share some numbers. In the U.S., 12.8 million children benefited from child support collections in fiscal year 2022. In California, there are over 1 million child support cases distributing more than $2.5 billion each year to families. Of these collections, more than 63% are from payroll deduction. This is a direct result of the work that you, as one of our closest partners, do. And lastly, On the federal level, employers reported 77.5 million new and rehired employees in fiscal year 2022. By doing this in a timely manner, child support payments can continue with minimal interruption. Simply stated, our partnership results in financial and medical support for children and families. So thank you. Let's go into the overall structure of our program, where we basically have 3 levels. At the federal level, we have the Office of Child Support Services, which is a federal government agency that oversees the National Child Support Program. They help develop, manage, and operate child support programs according to federal law. Next, at the state level, we have California Support Services, which oversee child support operations statewide. Federal law does require all child support payments to be collected and processed by a single entity, which in California is the California State Disbursement Unit, or SDU. At the county or regional level is where the local child support agencies, LCSAs, handle all case services, and they are usually the customer's first point of contact. It is unlikely that you will ever need to interact directly with anyone at the federal level, so I'm going to go in a bit more detail about our state and local levels. Some of the things California Child Support Services can help you with include stopping payments, issues regarding non-sufficient funds, non-agency customer service, and employer verification services. The SDU can help you with questions about collection processing and connect you with the electronic help desk. Any one of our 47 local child support agencies can help with clarifications on the income withholding orders, national medical support notices, or other forms, and help your employees directly with their cases. Now, last year, our participants learned there are a few phone numbers that they will need to contact any of these programs. For the employers who were not here last year, please get your pen or pencils ready. As you can see, there's actually only one phone number you need to know. We have one centralized number that you can use to contact us regardless of where you are or who you want to talk to. This includes the SDU, California Support Services, or the local child support agency. This is the one number you should remember today. That number is 866-901-3212. This is an automated phone service where you can make a payment over the phone, connect with the call center or the caseworker at the LCSA, and there are various language options available. I encourage you to keep this phone number on hand, not only for yourself, but also for your employees. On a final note, before we dive into the workshop, our case records are confidential, and there is only limited information we are legally allowed to discuss directly with you. Those discussions mainly revolve around the 2 forms we send you, the IWO and the NIMSM. There are times our offices will hear from employers that want to advocate on behalf of their employees for a variety of reasons, such as feeling the IWO amount is too high or is unfair to the employee. However, due to confidentiality, and to be quite honest, we can lose our jobs if we discuss case information about your employee beyond the IWO and NIMSM. What you can do is encourage them to call us, provide them with the phone number, 866-901-3212, and we can answer their questions as well as address their concerns. With that, let's dive into our workshop. Marisol will be presenting to us on reporting new hires and employer verifications.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. My name is Marisol Blake with San Mateo County, and I'll be reviewing some of your roles and responsibilities this morning. Before we review the next set of slides, I want to inform you that there will be a list of resources available to you later during the presentation. Now let's discuss your role. Your role begins at the very start of employment. All employers must report every new hire or rehired employee to the National Directory of New Hires. Please keep in mind, new reporting is not voluntary. You are required to report your new hires to the Employment Development Department, also known as EDD, within 20 days of their start date. You are also required to report an employee upon rehire if they were separated from your company for more than 60 days. The information you report includes the following: employee's full name, social security number, address, and hire date. Additionally, your business name, address, and federal employment identification number is also helpful if you provide a contact person for your company. You're required to report your independent contractors to EDD within 20 days if any of the following applies. You completed a 1099 form for their services, you pay them $600 or more, or you enter into a contract of $600 or more. This applies to both individuals and sole proprietorships. Now that we reviewed the required timeframes to report new or rehired employees and independent contractors, let's walk through the EDD forms needed to get this done. Here we have a sample of EDD form DE34. This form is for employers to report new and rehired employees to EDD. The information needed for the employer section is date, employer account number, branch code, federal employer identification number, legal business name, address, as well as a contact person's name and phone number. In the employee's information section, please list the employee's full name, their social security number, home address, and start of work date. Another important form is the EDD form DE542. This form will be used when reporting independent contractors. On this form, you will see the information needed is needed, much like the previous DE form. However, the independent contractor information section has a few more fields to complete regarding contracted employees. In the employee section, you will need your federal employer identification number, employer account number, legal business name, address, as well as a contact person's name and phone number. In the independent contractor section, you will need to list the independent contractor's full name, their social security number, home address, start date of the contract, amount of the contract, and the expiration date. Please note that if there is no expiration date listed, the contract is considered ongoing. For your convenience, you can report new hires online using e-services for business or by mail or by fax. If you have further questions regarding new hire reporting, you may contact EDD Taxpayer Assistance Center online or by phone. While you're required to report information within 20 days, we encourage you to report this information sooner. The information you provide is helpful and is used to locate parents as well as establish and enforce court orders for child and medical support. New hire reporting timeframes are important because it may result in missed or delayed child support payments or a delay in getting information needed from the National Medical Support Notice. Many families rely on child support and health insurance to meet their basic needs. Additional links and resources specific to independent contractors and new hires can be found at the end of our presentation and has been added in the chat for your convenience. This wraps up the forms associated with EDD. Now let's talk about an important form you will receive from the Child Support Agency. This is our wage and insurance verification form. This is one of the most important forms used by our offices. This form provides the employee's employment status, wages, and benefit information. You may be asking yourself, what makes this form so important? Well, let's talk about it. We use this form to obtain essential information regarding an employee's earnings and deductions to accurately calculate child support. Many of you may know someone personally who has a child support case, or you may have one yourself. Verifiable income, health insurance expense, union dues, and mandatory retirement are essential details needed when calculating an accurate child support amount. This form is time sensitive, and by completing this form timely, you may help us confirm whether someone is still employed, is no longer employed, establish an order for support, or review an existing order for a possible modification sooner. If a response is not received, we will follow up with you, which could result in more paperwork and our phone calls from our office. So please don't delay your response. There are several sections of the wage and insurance verification form that are essential. So let's go over these here. The first section, we have the employee's work status, start date, termination date, and reason. The second section, we have pay date, hourly rate, mandatory retirement, and union dues. And the third section, we have the employee's earnings for the past 12 months. We like to know month, year, and gross earnings. Please complete every section of this form, even if your person is no longer with your company. Some employers prefer not to fill out our wage verification form, but instead attach historical earnings and proof of insurance along with the wage verification. This is completely acceptable. Again, we appreciate all your attention to detail. In addition to the wage verification information, the health insurance section is also vital. Here we want to know if health insurance is available to your employee and or their dependents, and if so, the cost for medical, dental, and vision, or any other specialized coverage available. Health insurance is a deduction that we can give credit for when we're estimating support, and is also satisfies the National Medical Support Notice requirements. Don't forget to include your name and contact information, just in case we have any questions about the information you've provided. This will save us more time in the long run and will help you avoid receiving additional paperwork or phone calls. Now, we have shown you a few forms from EDD, as well as our local child support agency. Again, these forms are used to gather important information. No matter what forms you receive from us, please provide us with the requested information. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact us at 866-901-3212. Your continued support to our office and the families we serve is really greatly appreciated. Now it's poll time. All right, let's see here. Who should be reported to the National Directory of New Hires? Is it A, a select amount of employees, or B, every new hire or rehired employee or independent contractor? Let's take a look and see what you guys think. Very, very nice. You are correct. Every employer must report every new hire or rehired employee or independent contractor to the National Directory of New Hires. Now I'll be turning it over to Mike, who will be going over income withholding orders, also known as IWOs, and electronic income withholding orders, also known as EIWOs. Take it away, Mike.
Thank you, Marisol. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Mike, and I'm from Contra Costa County. I'd like to talk to you all about how to process income withholding orders, or IWOs, how to send the wages you withhold to our department, and the benefits of electronic income withholding orders, or EIWOs. But first, Before we start, how many of you are currently signed up for EIWO? We'll give you a moment to answer. So it looks like only 13% of you are currently signed up for EIWO. Hopefully, by the time that I've ended the presentation, you'll understand just how beneficial the EIWO program can be for your business. EIWOs are court-mandated payroll deductions. They tell you which employee to withhold from, how much to withhold based on your pay cycle, and how to send payments to the State Disbursement Unit, or SDU. EIWOs can be issued by a court, an administrative agency, or a private party or their attorney. A common misconception that people have around EIWOs is that the employee has done something wrong or has failed to pay child support debt. The truth is that the majority of court orders for child support make wage withholding mandatory, and this is not a reflection of your employee's willingness to pay support. After receiving an EIWO, you are required to remit the specified amount to the SDU within the time frame listed. You are also required to honor the withholding until you receive an amended EIWO or an EIWO termination. You should keep all EIWOs on file for 1 year after separation of employment. An employee cannot opt out of an EIWO or ask you to make any changes. If they have any questions, you can direct them to contact our office. By sending consistent and timely payments, you can help ensure that your employee avoids actions that may limit their ability to work. We'll get further into that a little bit later. Now, let's talk timeframes. If you receive an EIWO from the Child Support Agency, you must do the following within the first 10 days. First, provide your employee with a copy of the EIWO and the Request for Hearing Regarding Earnings Assignment form, both of which will be included in the packet you receive. And second, begin withholding the first pay period after the remittance date found at the top of page 4 of the EIWO. We'll go over exactly where to find that in a bit. You must also remit payments within 7 days of withholding. Now, let's take a moment to talk about why following these timeframes laid out in the EIWO are important to your employees, their families, and even your business. When you send in a payment, your employees are given credit for it on the date it is received by the SDU, not the date it was withheld. If payments are late or inconsistent, it can result in your employees being subjected to enforcement actions such as negative credit reporting, interest charges, license suspensions, bank levies, and even passport denials. An improperly processed payment could not only cause your employees to suffer these consequences, it may even impact their ability to work. If an employee has their driver's license suspended, they may not be able to commute to work. And if their jobs require an occupational license, such as a realtor's license, teaching credential, or guard card, they may not be able to work at all until clearing the matter with our department and the licensing agency. Besides avoiding these negative consequences for you and your employee, sending payments improperly can also have some positive effects. By sending in payments in a timely manner, you can make sure that the families that get those payments receive their money in a consistent and predictable way, helping parents and guardians to support their children. As I mentioned before, a request for hearing regarding earnings assignment is included in the EIWO packet sent to you. You must provide this to your employee within 10 days of receiving the packet. Your employee has the right to go to court if they dispute the collections via income withholding and can do so by filing this form directly with the court. Regardless of whether or not your employee files their request for hearing, you must honor the EIWO until a termination is received. The first page of the EIWO will show you exactly how much to withhold from your employee based on the pay cycles that your business has already established. You will not need to adjust your payment cycle to accommodate the EIWO. Section 3, Order Information, will detail the total amount to withhold. It lists the monthly amount owed for the current child support obligation, along with a past due obligation and other types of support like medical or spousal, if there are any. In this example, the employee has a current child support obligation of $600 a month and a past due child support obligation of $50 a month for a total obligation of $650 a month. Under Section 4, Amounts to Withhold, you will find the breakdown of how much to withhold according to your payroll cycle. In this case, a monthly withholding of $650 would break out to $150 weekly, $300 biweekly, $325 semi-monthly, or $650 monthly. Typically, your employees should not have multiple withholdings for the same child. If you receive wage assignments for the same employee for the same children, please contact all senders involved so that they can determine if it's appropriate to have more than one deduction for the same child. On the top of page 4 of the IWO, you will find details on where to send the withholding. You can see the required timeframes clearly listed under remittance information. Again, the important timeframes to remember are: withhold no later than the first pay period that occurs 10 days after the date listed in the remittance information section, and to send payments within 7 working days of the pay date. It's important to note that you may not be able to withhold the full amount requested on the IWO if that amount exceeds your state's withholding limitations. In California, that's 50% of the employee's net disposable income, but withholding limitations vary state to state. If you receive an IWO from a state with a limitation different than California's 50%, you should follow the law in that employee's principal place of employment, regardless of where the IWO was issued from. Let's talk about employee status changes. When an employee leaves your company or changes the status of their employment, you should notify us as soon as possible. Promptly reporting these changes allows us to take immediate actions to avoid missed payments, as well as notify the other party if their child's health insurance has been affected. We understand that your time is valuable, but providing us with this information in a timely manner can help avoid unnecessary phone calls and letters from our office. You must notify us within 10 business days of any lapse or change in employment status or benefits. You can also do so by completing and returning page 4 of the IWO by phone at 866-901-3212, or by completing the termination of benefits form found on our website. For your convenience, we'll put the link to the form in the chat. You can also report electronically by contacting the Federal Employer Services team at employerservices@acf.hhs.gov. Please remember that you must keep all child support orders for wage withholding and health insurance on file for 1 year after separation of employment. If an employee is rehired, please resume enforcement of the orders and contact us to ensure they're still appropriate. If you receive an IWO for someone who either no longer works for you or was never employed with you, you will need to complete Section 7 on page 6 of the IWO, the notification of employment termination or income status, and return it to the child support agency that issued it. The return address is provided for you at the bottom of the same page. You can also report the separation by phone if that's more convenient. Or, if you prefer, you can complete the Employee Status Report Form 0522 to report changes to employment status. This form is not included in the IWO packet, but can be found online at childsupport.ca.gov. You can complete this form and return it directly to the issuing agency. So far, the IWOs we've been reviewing are for withholding your employees' regular wages, but certain types of one-time payments you make to your employees may require that our department issue an additional IWO. Those types of payments to employees include bonuses, vacation payouts, commissions, severance or buyout payments, retroactive pay increases, sign-on bonuses, cash awards, incentive programs, and retirement incentives. You are required to report any of these types of payments to us prior to the payout. We'll review the case and let you know how much, if any, should be withheld and issue a bonus lump sum IWO if appropriate. You can report these payments by emailing lumpsumresponse@dcss.ca.gov or by calling 916-464-6640. While most of the IWOs you receive will come from our office, you could receive one directly from the other parent or their attorney. So let's briefly go over privately issued IWOs. Once you receive a privately issued IWO, make a copy of the FL 195 case registry form and send it to the SDU. You should retain the original form for your records. The SDU will create a case number and provide it to you for the payment identifying purposes. It's important that you wait until you receive a case number before sending payments to the SDU for a private case. If the case number isn't included, the payment may be held, applied to the wrong case, or returned to you. Once you've received the case number, remit payments within 7 days of withholding. Whether an IWO was served by an agency, the other parent, or their attorney, all payments made on an IWO should be sent to the SDU. Now, after reviewing IWOs, it's obvious that employers have a lot of work to do when they receive one. The good news is that e-IWOs can make working with our office easier for you and more cost-effective for your business. E-IWOs provide a faster, more secure, and more efficient method for employers to electronically receive and process an IWO and acknowledge whether they accept or reject it. They will also allow you to notify the child support agency of a bonus or lump sum payment or an employee termination. Now, enrolling in e-IWOs isn't mandatory, but it does offer several benefits, such as one-time enrollment. Many states and territories use the e-IWO portal. Get child support to the family sooner. It saves you time, money, and resources. Ensure uniform IWO data from all states. It increases the accuracy and reliability of the data, and it is available at no cost to you, the employer. There are two options available to integrate e-IWO into your systems. One is a system-to-system interface, which requires IT programming and takes up to 4 to 5 months. This option is recommended if you receive a high volume of IWOs. The second is a no programming option, which is a simple implementation that takes just 2 to 4 weeks. This may be preferable for those of you who receive a lower volume of IWOs. Now, employers may choose which e-IWO implementation option best fits their needs, regardless of the number of employees. For more information about e-IWOs, check out the website listed on your screen. And if you're interested in signing up, contact the e-IWO team by email. We'll add these links to the chat for your convenience. Now that we've gone over IWO processing, let's go into more detail on withholding limitations and deductions. To start, it's important to understand what types of income can be withheld for child support. California defines earnings as wages and salary, bonuses and commissions, vacation pay, retirement, dividends, royalties, and residuals, and any payments for your 1099 recipients or independent contractors. All of these types of wages are eligible for withholding for child support. As I mentioned earlier, if your employee is going to receive an extra check for something like a vacation payout or a bonus or a commission, it can be withheld, but will require a separate IWO. Please make sure you report these types of one-time payments to our office prior to the payout. You should honor all income withholding orders to the full extent whenever possible. However, your employee may not have enough earnings to meet their full obligation. As we've discussed, the maximum amount you can take for child support in California is 50% of the employee's net disposable income. Assuming that your employee's involuntary deductions collectively exceed 50% of their net disposable income, that would be the maximum amount that you could withhold. If all deductions for all cases are a California child support agency, you can send them all in one check to the SDU, who will apply the payments according to the federal hierarchy. Now that we've established how much of your employee's net disposable income to withhold, Let's go over an example of how to make that calculation yourself. Start by taking your employee's gross income. For our example, we use $5,000. Next, subtract all mandatory deductions such as state and federal income tax, Social Security, Medicare, and state disability insurance, and any mandatory union dues or mandatory retirement. Make sure you do not include voluntary deductions like a payroll advance, money being direct deposited into a savings account, or 401k contributions. After our mandatory deductions, we're left with a net disposable income of $3,710. Divide that number in half to calculate the maximum amount that can be withheld. It's important to note that if a federal tax lien was in place prior to the child support order being entered, you'll have to deduct that first too. If you are unsure of the date the order was entered, you can contact the agency or party that issued the IWO for assistance. Your employee may have withholdings other than child support. Maybe they have a withholding for student loans, a tax levy, or some other type of debt. Each type of obligation may have a different threshold for deductions. If your employee makes enough to cover them all without exceeding their respective thresholds, then you must honor them. If your employee does not make enough, then the top priority would be to satisfy the monthly child support, with the lone exception of a federal tax levy that was in place prior to the child support order. Once the monthly child support has been met, refer to this list to determine the hierarchy to pay any other withholding your employee may have. On top of there being a hierarchy for the different types of withholdings, there's also one for the different types of deductions that can be included in an IWO. Here you can see all the different types of support that our department can collect and their priority. Again, if you can honor all of your employees' obligations without exceeding the net disposable income threshold, you must do so. If your employees' obligations exceed 50% of the net disposable income, you can refer to this list. We understand this can get complicated, especially when you're dealing with multiple orders, but we are here to help if you have any questions. If you received an IWO and are unsure of how to withhold properly, please contact us for assistance. It's not uncommon for an employee to receive multiple orders for the same employee. If all orders are issued by this one state or payee, then you can send a single payment to them and they'll allocate it accordingly, regardless of whether or not they satisfied all obligations. However, if your employee has multiple orders from different states and doesn't have enough disposable income to satisfy them all, you'll need to manually calculate how much to send for each case. I know this sounds daunting, but I'll walk you through an example to show you that it's not as difficult as it seems. Let's say you have an employee that has current child support obligations in California, Arizona, and Texas. This employee's net disposable income is $360. So the maximum amount that you could withhold would be $180. You can determine exactly how much to send to each state by following these 3 easy steps. First, you'll add up your employee's current obligations, which in this case is $227. Second, divide each state's individual obligation by the total amount of obligations, $227, to get the percentage that each case is entitled to. Finally, multiply the net disposable income, $180, by the percentage that you just calculated for each state to determine how much should be allocated to each case. We understand that this can be complicated and feel a little overwhelming. If you ever need help, please don't hesitate to reach out to the agency that issued the IWO for guidance. We get questions about this all the time and are more than happy to help. Also, please remember that if you receive multiple orders for the same children, you need to contact all state agencies that are involved immediately so that we can determine which orders are or are not appropriate. Thank you all for taking the time to go over IWOs with me. If you have any questions about what we just covered, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box and we will review during the Q&A portion at the end of our presentation. Now I'd like to pass the baton to Kanisha, who will discuss remitting payments.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning. I am Kanisha George. I'm here to talk to you about remitting payments. As shared earlier, last year you helped over 1 million California cases benefit from child support collections. That is awesome. We want to continue to increase the amount of support we send to families, so let's make sure we cover how to successfully remit payments so we can ensure our families continue to receive consistent and timely child support payments. Did you know that pursuant to California Family Code 17309.5, if an employer pays taxes electronically to the Franchise Tax Board or EDD, then child support payments are required to be sent to the SDU using electronic funds transfer. Electronic payments are highly recommended. Here are some of the benefits for paying electronically. It allows for fewer errors. There are no more lost checks. It saves time and money by reducing check printing costs and postage fees. It reduces the risk of theft and fraud. It results in a faster processing of child support payments, which will reduce phone calls about late payments. And one of the best benefits is it is better for the environment. As previously shared, California employers are required to send child support payments to the SDU using EFT if they are making electronic payments for taxes to the Franchise Tax Board or EDD. There are two options for paying for electronic child support payments. The first is Expert Pay. This allows payments to be made using ACH debit, credit card, PayPal, or PayPal. You can register at www.expertpay.com for this option. The second option is ACH. This allows you to use your own payroll software to send ACH credit card payments like direct deposit. The California SDU Electronic Help Desk is here to answer any questions you have regarding ACH payments by calling 866-901-3212, pressing option 1. You may also send an email to the email address provided in the slide. Do not hesitate to reach out if needed. We will also add these links to the chat for your convenience. Once the deduction has been made, the employer is to provide identifying information for each employee. This is very important, so please remember to add this information before submitting a payment. This identifying information includes the employee's full name, Social Security number, participant ID number, or the child support case number provided by the SDU or issued by the child support agency. In addition, please include the date and amount of the payment. This information is very helpful as it helps us identify payments for the correct participant and process the payments in a timely manner. This helps ensure families receive their monthly child support without any discrepancies. Whether you are honoring an agency income withholding order, a private income withholding order, or both, it is important to clearly associate the correct case number to the corresponding payment amount. If you do not put the correct case number, the payment may go to the wrong family, and we definitely don't want that to happen. A common situation is for employees to have multiple employees with IWOs. I know this can get a little tricky, but don't worry, I'll explain how to remit one payment to the SDU for more than one employee. Here is an example. In this example, you have two employees. Let's say Employee A has a court order for $100 a month, and employee B has an order for $150 per month. To save time, you may send one payment of $250 for both cases to the California SDU. Since you have included the appropriate identifiers as shown in the previous slide, the SDU was able to process the payments and the correct amount of child support was sent to the family within 2 business days. Great job. Thanks. If you are a California employer and not paying electronically to the FTB or EDD, you may send checks to the California State Disbursement Unit. Out-of-state employers may mail check payments to the California State Disbursement Unit at the address listed in the slide. Please note, payments should never be made directly to the local child support agency, as this only delays payment processing time. If for any reason you need to make a stop payment on a child support check, please email the employer stop request form to the California SDU at the email address provided. EFT and direct deposit processing timeframes do not allow the ability to stop payment. Therefore, all electronic payments employers should submit the employer refund request form. You can fax this form to the California Child Support Business Solutions team at the fax number shown or by email at the email address provided. Both the employer stop payment form and the employer refund request form are available at childsupport.ca.gov/forms. Employers should not place stop payments on remitted payments until the SDU or Business Solutions team has been contacted. I will now turn it over to Carly to discuss health insurance and the National Medical Support Notice. Thank you for your time.
Hello again. You've been great listening and interacting with this presentation. How about we take a quick random poll? Of these popular California food, one must go. Which do you pick? Pizza, California rolls, tacos, or double burger from In-N-Out? We'll give you a few seconds to answer. Hey, and oh, I was not expecting this. California rolls. It looks like that's the main food that people have chosen to go. Now, let's dive back in. A National Medical Support Notice, or NMSM, is the official document that is sent to employers to ensure health insurance is provided for children on the case. This is to be enforced if medical is available at a reasonable or no cost. The employer is the primary access point to healthcare for many employees and their children, and your role is vital in this process. A NMSM is a court order, and it requires that health insurance must be provided to the children, even if the employee declines personal health coverage. The NMSM is not subject to open enrollment guidelines. This means you must enroll children immediately upon receiving the notice. You should not wait until open enrollment. Once the children are enrolled, please complete the NMSM Form Part B, which we will be covering in just a moment. There are 5 types of insurance coverage. They are medical, dental, vision care, prescriptions, and mental health. Insurance coverage is to be enforced until you receive a notice of change or termination from our office. Your responsibility as an employer includes notifying your employee within 10 business days of receiving the NIMSM. On the NIMSM Part A, please complete the employer response page and return this page to the LCSA within 20 business days. Also, within 20 business days of receiving this notice, you are required to send Part B of the NIMSM to your healthcare plan administrator, or if your employee belongs to a union that runs the health insurance plan, then Part B will go to their union. So Part A to the LCSA and Part B to the healthcare plan administrator or the employee's union. If your employee is subject to a waiting period, such as a probationary period, please notify the LCSA of the waiting period timeframe. Within 40 business days, the healthcare plan administrator will need to provide the LCSA with a description of the coverage available and begin withholding on any employee contributions. You must continue coverage until you receive a termination notice from the LCSA. Here's a sample of the National Medical Support Notice Form, Part A. This consists of 5 pages, 3 of which are just instructions and information about the form, so we are just going over the highlights. This first page will provide to you the children's names and all relevant information needed to enroll them in a healthcare plan. The middle section not shown is your business information and the employee's information that you should review to confirm that we have it all correct. The top boxes will let you know if this is a new or a termination of the NIMSM. This section will let you know which LCSA issued the NIMSM. This section will let you know which court issued the order. And most of the time, the form will have the all box checked as shown here, indicating we want the children enrolled in all types of coverage that are available. Because this contains confidential information, such as the child partial SSN, this form is not to be shared with your employee. If you remember back to those timeframes that we went over just a couple slides ago, you have 20 business days to return the employer response to the LCSA. The employer response shown here is page 3 of the NIMSM Part A. On this form, you will check the appropriate box and return it to the LCSA. This is the first page of the NIMSM form Part B, the plan administrator copy. If you checked any of the boxes numbered 5 through 7 on the employer response, this form must be forwarded to the plan administrator within 20 business days. If your employee is part of a union and the union is handling the insurance, you forward this form to the union. The plan administrator is the person responsible for making sure the children are enrolled. This front page has the exact same information and layout as Part A and includes all the information needed to enroll the children in the health insurance plan. Again, I want to emphasize this contains confidential information, so this form is not to be shared with your employee. This is the second page of the NIMSM form Part B, the plan administrator response. This form must be completed and returned within 40 business days. On this form, the plan administrator will write in the date the notice was received and the date they determined this to be a qualified medical child support order. Then you will choose from the following. Number 2, encircle the enrollment choice that fits A through D. Write in the date coverage begins and the policy information. Number 3, if there are multiple insurance options and the employee is declining self-coverage, pick this option if you are asking the LCSA to choose the plan. Or number 4, employee is on a probationary period, then enter the date that it will end. If it's determined this is not a qualified medical child support order, complete number 5. If you need assistance completing the form, please contact the LCSA. You now have heard the phrases qualified medical insurance and reasonable cost, but what do those phrases mean? For this, we look to California Senate Bill 580. SB 580 defines reasonable cost of medical coverage as follows. The cost to add the child is no more than 5% of the employee's gross income. This is the difference between cost of coverage for only the employee versus the cost of coverage for the employee and dependent. Or the total support in the income withholding order plus the cost of insurance coverage did not exceed 50% of the employee's net disposable income. We will walk through an example of this in the next slide. Another consideration is accessibility of health insurance. The coverage provided must be within a 50-mile radius of the child's residence. An example of this would be Kaiser, which is not available in all areas. And lastly, if the employee states the children are enrolled in alternative coverage or they believe they are not ordered to cover the children, please have the employee contact the LCSA. We will review. And if it meets the criteria outlined in SB 580, you will receive the termination of the NIMSM. If you do not receive a termination of this notice, you must continue and provide coverage for the children. Here is an example of how to calculate the 5%. Remember, this is the difference between cost of coverage for only the employee versus cost of coverage for employee and dependent. If health insurance costs $50 for the employee only, and it costs $150 for the employee plus the child, then the difference to add the child is $100. You would calculate whether $100 is greater than 5% of the employee's gross income. That's the figure we want to use to determine if it's reasonable. If it is more than 5%, please complete the NIMSM Part B and select this exceeds state federal withholding limits. Please remember, you cannot take more than 50% of the employee's net disposable income. This includes total of both child support and medical support combined. If the total does exceed 50%, child support is given priority over medical support, and you would return the NIMSM Form Part B, stating the amount exceeds state federal withholding limits. Please report terminated employees immediately by completing and returning the termination of benefits, employment, and health insurance form, which can be found at the address provided if you lose the copy provided for you in the NIMSM or the income withholding order. You can return this notice to the issuing LCSA or contact them by phone at 866-901-3212. E-Term is now available for electronic reporting of terminated employees. Contact the Federal Employer Service Team at the email provided. It is critical to report changes as soon as possible. We have had parents calling from the doctor's offices because insurance is denying services, so the doctor is refusing to see the child or make referrals. Because notification was not given by the employer, these families were not given the opportunity to try to secure another form of health insurance. We want to avoid situations like this, so please keep this in mind when handling the NIMSM enrollment and reporting your employee's status. Thank you for listening. I know this is a lot of information. Please do not hesitate to call us anytime with any questions. Next up will be Marisol on how to stay connected and informed.
Hello again. We continue to thank you for your commitment to your part in the child support process and cannot emphasize enough how important it is that you continue to report your new and rehired employees, respond to employee verification requests, deduct child support timely, and add dependents to employer-sponsored health insurance when available and reasonable. It is also very important that you update your employer information with us. This ensures that we send notices to the right location, and most important, prevents duplicate correspondence. So how do you do that? Anytime that you have a change in your business name, federal employer identification number, address, phone number, or email address, you can contact Employer Services. It is super easy to do this online, and you may do so by starting at our website at the link provided. You can access this form by selecting the Update Your Record on the banner section of this page, or by selecting Update Employer Information on the right-hand side of this page under Employer Quick Links. You can also update your information by contacting Employer Services at 888-898-1743. In addition to providing an easy way to update your information, in the Employer Resource Center site, you will find many resources that include all of the employer forms that we discussed today, employer FAQs, the option to download an employer handbook, and an option for you to subscribe to receive child support program and upcoming employer events information. Speaking of resources, here is a list that has some of the websites that we referenced today. As you can see, we have not only listed the website for EDD, but also the direct links for new hire reporting and independent contractor information pages within the EDD website for quicker navigation. Remember, you can visit the California State Disbursement Unit website for questions about collection processing and for the electronic help desk. In the Expert Pay site, you will find information on electronic payments. These websites are also being posted in our chat for your reference. And now another poll question. Exciting. We have shared a lot of information, phone numbers, websites, and resources today. But if you need to reach the SDU, California Child Support Services, or any of the 47 local child support agencies, how many phone numbers do you need to remember in order to do that? Is it one or too many to remember? Yay, good job, guys. That's right. That number is 866-901-3212. Remember, you can find a wealth of information at our Employer Resource Center. In our Bay Area Collaborative website, you can find more resources as well as information from this workshop with links to our local Bay Area child support agencies. I hope you will stay in touch, and we look forward to our continued partnership. Please remember, we are here to answer your questions. With that, I would like to bring back our host, Caroline, for your questions and answer, for our question and answer section. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Marisol. Now let's give a round of applause to all of our presenters. You have all done an amazing job. We will be moving into the Q&A portion of our workshop, but before we do, please take a moment to complete the survey as your feedback is important to us. The survey link can be found in the chat. We will do our very best to answer all of your questions during our Q&A. But if we don't worry. We are capturing all of your questions and we'll have the Q&A available on the BARC website soon. Now, if you do have case-specific questions, or if you need further clarification after the workshop ends, please feel free to contact your local child support agency or state child support services. And now I would like to introduce our panel of experts. Brandon Felix is a lead for Contra Costa County. He has been working on the enforcement team since 2019. Raven Terrence is a lead for Contra Costa County. She started her career in child support as a caseworker in 2019. Janet Notley is the director of Napa County Child Support. She started her career in child support as an attorney for San Diego County in 1996. Jennifer Sessi currently serves as the Assistant Director of the Marin County Department of Child Support Services. She has over 30 years in the child support program. She has worked in Alameda, Sonoma, Solano County child support offices in various areas of the program. Angela Jones is the Employer Outreach Coordinator at California Child Support Services with more than 13 years of program knowledge and experience. She has worked in a variety of child support functional areas at the state level. Marisa Rodriguez is the Tax Administrator, Specialist, and Assistant to the Division Chief of the EDD Tax Branch. She has over 20 years of state employment tax experience. So now let's get to those questions. So let's see here. First question, Brandon, perhaps you can take this. Will we be notified when our employee has met their obligation and we stop the wage attachment? How can we learn how much longer we should be deducting from their wages?
That's a great question. Once your employee satisfies their full obligation, we will send a termination notice to let you know that the wage garnishment is no longer needed. Your employee might tell you that they no longer owe support and ask you to end the garnishment prematurely, but you should continue to withhold their wages until you receive the termination from our office.
Thank you, Brandon. So wait for the termination from us. Raven, can you take this question? If a child support payment is not sent on time by the employer, does the employee get penalized?
Failure to remit any payments to the state disbursement unit could result in the employee being subject to enforcement actions. It also could result in the employer being held liable for those payments as well.
Thank you. So important to send those payments in timely. Jennifer, can you help us with this question? If the employee's medical is handled by the union, how do we fill out the medical paperwork that is sent with certain child support garnishments?
This is a very common question. Thanks for asking. You should complete Part A, the employer response that comes with the NMSN, and then send that to the LCSA. Send the Part B to the health plan administrator or to the employees union.
Thank you, Jennifer. Janet, for temporary staffing agencies, we are unable to keep track of all employee separations. Temp placements end for various reasons, and employees may or may not be assigned to a new placement. What do we do then?
So we are very used to dealing with temporary agencies, and we know that this is a challenge for you. So as long as the employee stays signed up with your agency, keep that IWO in place. Ensure that if you are paying them out, that the IWO goes back in place whenever they're in a placement, but also send back the verification or contact the local child support agency and let them know that this is a temp agency and the employee may go in and out of different jobs. Also keep that IWO, even if they quit your agency, keep that IWO for 1 year just in case they come back.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet. Angela, can you please give out the phone number to report the lump sum payouts again?
You can report lump sums to the California Child Support Services at 916-464-640, or by emailing the lump sum response team at dcss.ca.gov. I will also add this to the chat. But additionally, employers can also report lump sums electronically if you are enrolled in EIWO by utilizing the employer-initiated income withholding acknowledgement form, or if you register with the Child Support Portal on the Federal Office of Child Support Services. Now I'll add that
Angela.
as well.
Okay, thank you. Janet, if an employee is required to cover his child for medical insurance, because he is covered at no charge, is that deduction able to be deducted for disposable income?
That is a great question. And I'm assuming this question is tied to what amount is left up to that 50% for their income withholding. Anything that's mandatory, including health insurance, should be reduced out of their pay before determining what that 50% is. So yes, the health insurance would get deducted off of that 50%. Before that, you would send that up to 50% to the child support agency. But again, if it's between health insurance and the child support, make sure that you're contacting the local child support agency regarding that ahead of time.
Thank you, Janet. And yes, you can always contact your local child support agency with any questions. I think that's a good reminder. Janet, can you also answer this? What if there is an income withholding order without a child's name provided?
The income withholding order should always have the child's name. And this is really important for a couple of reasons. One is for the employer to know if they have more than one income withholding order coming in for the same child, but also so the employee can know which children that they're being asked to pay for. So if you get an income withholding order that does not have the child's information on it, please, and it came from a child support agency, please contact that child support agency. If it came from a private person, then I would contact your employee and ask them if they have a copy of the court order that goes along with that, so you know which child that income withholding order is for.
Okay, thank you, Janet. Brandon, can you take this question? Will we receive a copy of this recording?
Yes, a recording of the presentation as well as this Q&A session will be posted on the BARC's website at bayareachildsupport.net.
Thank you. Marisa, I have a question for you. What if I pay them $300 for 2 separate projects within 20 days? Do I report them at the end of the second project?
An employer is required to report independent contractors within 20 days of either entering into a contract for $600 or making payments totaling $600, whichever is earlier.
Okay, thank you. Janet, I'll ask you another question. It was stated in this presentation that we are not to share the NMSN Part A with the employee, but in the letters we receive, it states that we are to give the employee a copy of the NMSN Part A. This seems contradictory. Can you please verify if we are supposed to send the NMSN Part A to the employee or not?
Great question. So you are right that under the family code and the letter, it states that you must give Part A to the employee. So that is true. However, you'll see also in that sentence, it says, but the information on the custodial party or parent and the children needs to be redacted. So their birth date and the social security numbers of the children cannot be given to the employee.
Okay. So very important to keep that.
Yes,
that information needs to remain confidential.
Yes.
I'll stay with you, Janet. How do I complete the wage verification form if my employee works a modified pay structure?
Great question. And we do get a lot of these. So the first thing is fill out the form as as much as you can, the start date, the end date, if there's an hourly wage. If there is additional information regarding a modified pay schedule or structure, such as bonuses or other pay that comes up, then go ahead and attach that information to the wage withhold or the verification form on the back. And if you're still a little bit confused on how to do it, go ahead and give your local child support agency a call, and they can help with making sure we have the correct information.
And I'm going to stay with you, Janet. If my employee is a seasonal worker, do I still need to comply with providing the health insurance information?
Great question. Seasonal employees are one that we also have a lot of. So seasonal employees, a couple of things is on the verification, make sure that you let us know that that employee is a seasonal worker, and if there is not health insurance available for that seasonal worker, go ahead and let us know in advance. Or if you get the NMSN, just go ahead and indicate on that form that you send back that the health insurance is not available due to this party being a seasonal worker.
Thank you, Janet. Angela, can you take this question for us? What do we do if the income withholding orders are getting sent to the wrong address for our company?
That's a great question. So employers can provide this information electronically, either by accessing the employer update information form that's on the Employer Resource Center, or you can contact the Employer Services Team directly at 888-898-1743. But additionally, this can also be reported utilizing the Child Support Portal on the Federal Office of Child Support Services website too. I will add these links to the website to you for a resource. To the chat.
Thank you. Thank you. Jennifer, does this information apply to small businesses with less than 5 employees?
Yes, this entire workshop applies to employers of all sizes with every type of whatever amount of employees they have, 1 to 500.
So all of you. It applies to
all of you. All of you.
Raven, what if I pay my employees monthly and the next pay period will not be within the 7 days to remit the payments?
You actually don't have to make any adjustments, just garnish according to your company's pay schedule. It's the employee's responsibility to make sure that the obligation is met in full each month until we're able to establish an income withholding order. And if they have any questions, you can always refer them back to the local child support agency.
Okay. Angela, what if payroll processing has a short turnaround time from being made aware of a bonus payment and the payment processing?
Well, it's very important to notify either the lump sum response team or report this information electronically as soon as you know that that employee is going to be receiving a bonus or a lump sum payment. But if you are reporting electronically utilizing the child support portal, one benefit is if you report one employee at a time, you'll receive a match or no match immediately, letting you know if you need to withhold. But you can also report utilizing a spreadsheet, and you'll receive a notification the following day if you need to withhold from that employee's bonus.
Fantastic, thank you. Marisa, can you take this question for us? Why would an employer need to provide information on a contractor or sole proprietor that they do business with?
It's the law. So California law requires all service recipients to report independent contractors that are individuals or sole proprietors. The information provided is used to assist state and county agencies in locating parents who are delinquent in their child support obligations.
Simply put, it's the law. I like that. Jennifer, how do I complete the health insurance information on the income verification if insurance is offered through the union?
If you don't have the health insurance information and it is offered through the union, just fill in the information about the union, their union name and their address and a telephone number if you have it, and we'll go ahead and contact the union and try to get that information from them.
Brandon, how does the child support work when 50% of the employee pay does not cover the full income withholding order amount being requested? For example, with restaurant workers.
That's a good question. In that scenario, you would still just withhold and remit 50% of their wages. It's ultimately your employee's responsibility to make sure that they make an additional payment and meet their full monthly obligation.
Thank you. Let's see, Raven, if somebody makes a payment in error and they need to request a stop payment on a check that has been sent, who do they contact?
They should reach out to the state disbursement unit first, and they'll need to complete an employer stop payment request. You can either call 866-901-3212, or you can complete that form online.
Okay. Would you like to add anything, Angela, to that response?
I'm just going to add the link to the remitter stop payment form online, so you can access that and use it as a resource.
Thank you. Janet, let's come back to you. My employee does not want the company to enforce the income withholding order received, as they are handling it on their own. Am I permitted to allow this?
No. The only way that a case is allowed to have direct pay from the customer is if a court orders that the income withholding order not be given or not be given to the employee or employer. So in that case, you can let your worker know that they need to go back to the local child support agency. And if we get a court order, then we can go ahead and do it. Otherwise, the federal law and state law require that an income withholding order be submitted. On top of that, if you don't start withholding immediately, the company can be responsible for the child support that should have been paid during that time and was not. So that's really important to know.
Okay, good to know. Let's see, Raven, can we stop the income withholding order payments once the child turns 18 and the employee indicates that there are no arrears owing?
You should continue to garnish until an IWO termination is received from the local child support agency. If your employee believes that they should no longer be garnished, just have refer them back to their local child support agency or call the 866 number.
Absolutely, yes. Marisha, are there any repercussions if employers report new hires late or not at all?
Yes, so it's very important for everybody to take note. If the report of new employees is not filed within the time required or is not filed at all, the employer is subject to a penalty of $24 if the failure to file is without good cause. However, if the failure to file is due to an intentional agreement between the employer and the employee, the employer is subject to a $490 penalty.
So avoid the penalties. Let's avoid those penalties and report on time. Let's see, Brandon, can you help us with this question? We do not always receive a medical withholding order with the income withholding order. Should we assume that there will be a medical order with the child support order?
No, you should not. There are several reasons why we may ask you to withhold wages, but not to enroll the children in health insurance coverage. You should only be worried about enrolling the children in coverage if you receive a national medical support notice.
Thank you. And can you also take this question? How do we know where the child lives to determine the coverage is within a 50-mile radius?
Good question. And the good news is that you are not expected to know where the child lives or to make a determination on whether or not the health insurance coverage is available to them. If your employee reports to you that the coverage is not geographically available to their children, you should direct them to contact our office so that way we can review. Either way, you should still comply with the medical support order until you receive a termination from our office.
Thank you, Brandon. Janet, when an employer receives two separate checks for regular pay and for overtime pay, can the employer take 50% from both?
They can if they need both of those paychecks in order to meet the total amount of the income withholding. So what's important to know is if under the regular paycheck, the amount that we have requested that you withhold each month has already been met, then you don't take any money out of that second check. If there's an amount left, say that there was $300 out of the first, you have $100 left out of the second one, then you would take that $100 or up to 50%, whichever is greater, or whichever is greater.
Thank you, Janet. Let's see, Angela, is there a way to get some kind of credit for processing the support orders because they seem to take up so much time?
Yes, the employer may charge the employee an administrative fee of $1.50 per payment per your employee's income withholding order.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you. Jennifer, for the child support fees, do we follow California if the order is from California, or do we follow their state of employment? The fee of $150 per remittance, is that per child support order or per remittance?
The fee should be listed on the income withholding order, and that's the fee that you should follow based on what was provided to you. Each state may have a different fee. You would follow that state's fee as listed on their income withholding order. And the fee for California is the fee per each remittance. So for each paycheck you've remitted, you can take the $1.50 fee for California.
Okay. Angela, can the California State Disbursement Unit take electronic payments for different states on California's website, California's SDU website?
So the California State Disbursement Unit processes payments for California. If you do have an income withholding order for another state, please contact the state that's listed on the order, and they will be able to provide you instructions on how to remit payments for that particular state.
Okay, thank you. I know you kind of lost you at the end, but basically contact the state listed on the income withholding order for instructions on how to remit those payments.
Correct.
Jennifer, should we deduct child support from vacation or sick only paychecks?
Yes, these are wages that are counted part of the employee's income, so they should be deducted, including any salary tips, commissions, gratuity, vacation pay, retirement pay. All of that is part of the income, as long as it's not exceeding the amount that the IWO is for.
Thank you, Jennifer. Angela, again to you, why is the request for hearing not included in the EIWO packets and orders?
The EIWO only includes just that income withholding order, but we recently added the request for hearing to the Employer Resource Center in the Employer Form section as a reference. So you will be able to access that form there. And then I will also provide a link to that in the chat for everybody to utilize.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Brandon, can you let us know how can we get signed up for EIWO?
Yeah, you can enroll by contacting the EIWO team at eiwomail@acf.hhs.gov.
Sounds simple enough. Marisa, since we need to report all new employees, how long after they are hired do we have to report them?
Yes, reporting to the ADD is required within 20 days of the employee's start of work day, which is the first day of work. So it's the 20 days, just remember that. But again, the sooner, the better. But it is 20 days within the first day of work.
Thank you. And remember, it's help avoid any sort of penalties. And our last question is really, I know there's several questions about the link for our presentation. Just know that we are working on that and we will get that corrected. So thank you for letting us know. So that concludes our Q&A portion of the workshop.
There's a couple that came into the chat.
Oh, okay.
It looks like There was one that says, what happens when an employee is on unpaid leave of absence? And that answer would be that you just notify the local child support agency of the absence and the expected date of return.
Oh, it looks like we have a couple more questions. Do we have
Yes.
enough time for a couple more? Okay, we do. Good. Let's see. I'm sorry, can you, are you able to see it? I can't see the question.
I can read it off and maybe we'll have a volunteer. It says, what if we receive an IO for the same employee, same child from 2 different states? Do both take effect?
I can take this one. That would be, you should call the local child support agency on that to be sure that we are not overlapping in our collections, because we may not know, as California, we may not know about the other state doing the collection. So it's important to contact one or both of the child support agencies in each state so that we can talk to determine what is the appropriate next course of action for you.
And it may be correct, because one may be just arrears from during that time of the state, and the other one could be collecting current support from enforcement in this state. So sometimes it's valid, so it's important to know.
Yes.
So any questions that are answered, we will get back to them. So I think at this point, we are going to conclude the Q&A portion of the workshop. So we want to, we really want to thank everybody who submitted questions. It's really important that we get those questions out so that we can answer them. If you did submit a question and it was not answered, please know that we will be answering all of your questions and we will post them in the FAQs section of the Bay Area ChildSupport.net site. And now I would like to introduce our final speaker to close out our workshop. That would be Kim Canyo. Kim has been the director for San Mateo County Department of Child Support Services since March of 2014. Her career in the child support program spans over 27 years. She has spent a large part of her career participating as a subject matter expert on many statewide policy and regulation changes that have enhanced outcomes for children and families. Kim serves on the board of directors for the California Child Support Directors Association and was president of the board in 2022. As the director of San Mateo County, Kim is passionate about the well-being of her staff and has a strong commitment to work-life balance. Kim leads her department with the 3C core values of care, commitment, and customer service. Close us out, Kim.
Can you see me?
We can see you.
Great. Well, thank you. This has been such a robust and rich workshop. On behalf of the Bay Area Child Support Collaborative, I really want to acknowledge and appreciate all the employers and payroll professionals who are here in this virtual space with us this morning. We commend you on your commitment and willingness to partner with us. Your role in the child support program is extremely significant in helping to ensure that families receive the financial support necessary for basic needs such as food, shelter, and medical care. In 2022, California Child Support Program collected over $2.5 billion, and 72% of these child support collections are through payroll deductions. The Bay Area Employer Workshop was developed to strengthen our partnership, increase knowledge, and provide resources to support timely completion and submission of the income withholding orders for processing to families. Thank you to all the Bay Area Child Support Directors who participated in this year's Employer Forum. And on behalf of the Bay Area Child Support Directors, I wish to express our sincere appreciation and congratulate today's presenters, expert panelists, and most importantly, the Bay Area Collaborative Employer Workshop Committee, who has once again tirelessly worked behind the scenes to prepare, develop, and deliver this successful workshop. Thank you, employers and payroll professionals, for your continued support and partnership. And now I turn the spotlight back to Caroline to end our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kim. Now, we hope that the information that you received today was useful and that we have equipped you with the knowledge and resources to navigate the child support process seamlessly. Please don't forget to complete our survey. The link is available in the chat, and we do take your responses, we review them, and in order to help us improve next year's presentation. Today's PowerPoint, as a reminder, is available for download along with other resources that we shared with you today on the BARC website. Thank you very much for joining us today.